Hello, this is a Forsythia, Weeping Forsythia suspensa, and I'm going to propagate it using rooting cuttings in water method. These flowers are like this. This is an unknown cultivar of this Forsythia. Okay. This Forsythia wasn't handled properly. Some branches were damaged, broken, like the one here. So I'm going to propagate it to provide it a better future in some other place, let's say. Okay, so let's cut some branches. Quite hard. Okay. A branch like this. And some more. Just a few. Okay, so I've collected some cuttings. These are the cuttings, and now I'm going to bring them home and put them into water. The cuttings are placed into water in a glass jar like this. And now I'm gonna cover it with a tin foil to prevent the light in, because the roots grow better when it's dark. I've brought some tin foil and I'm gonna wrap it with it just to prevent the light in. Not very tightly. It's wrapped with a foil and placed in my window. And now we have to wait until the rooting process will succeed and will be done. Today is the 17th of March, quite early spring, and in a month or so, or a month and a half, I'm expecting to have some roots within this Forsythia, Weeping Forsythia cuttings. The room temperature is about 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, and it's just placed like this in the window. Remember to monitor the water level to keep it more or less constant. It needs some refillment right now. After a few weeks, there are leaves on already. Most of the twigs look healthy, but this one is slightly fainted. It is possible that sometimes not everything goes right. It could be a case that some mold got in, so we have to check if there is mold on this slightly fainted one. As expected, The fainted one is slightly covered with mold. It can be seen without water, but if you place it back into water, you would notice some kind of mold growing at the end of this twig. Let's put it back to let you see the mold well. Can you see it? There is, well, it's not focusing okay right now. There is some mold indeed. This looks like this. So what we can do, we can wash it under running water, running tap water. Let's wash every of these twigs. If mold gets in, the chance of successful rooting is much lower. It is likely that the twig with the mold will fail to root. So let's wash it. Let's do the same with every twig, even though the rest doesn't have much of a mold, but just in case. The cuttings are washed already. You should use cold water, of course, for washing these cuttings. I think that a good idea would be to change water to put some new into the jar, just in case. The jar is being refilled. With fresh cold water. Let's add something extra, like this. This is a cinnamon bark. Cinnamon bark powder. Let's put a little bit of it into the water, because the cinnamon has anti-fungal, anti-molding properties. So it will be easier to keep the mold off. Cinnamon bark is purely natural, so it won't cause any trouble in the rooting process. Let's mix it a bit. Okay, I hope it's not too much. We'll see it later on. We'll judge on the effects. I'm placing the cuttings back to the jar. So 4 of 5 twigs are quite okay, let's say, and only one there is fainted a little bit, so It's okay that not every will succeed. You don't have to be worried about that. It's not always 100% of success. Sometimes a few may fail, like the one here. After a few days, it is quite clear that these four are more or less okay, but the one here is like dying. So I have to expel it from the jar because the disease that caused it to die is possible to spread to the other cuttings. As saying by the disease, I mean kind of mold, of kind of fungal infection. So I have removed the cutting that is likely to die, and I'm going to show you the kind of mold that we have to deal with. When it's taken out of the water, there is no mold to be seen, but when I put it back into water, you can see this kind of cloudy, whitish or grayish thing at the base of this twig. This is the kind of mold that I'm talking about. It could be a bacterial infection as well. Anyway, whatever it is, we have to deal with it, and twigs that are covered with this should be removed, or at least cured in some way. We are here with only 4 cuttings left. One of them had to be thrown away. Anyway, meanwhile, I have changed water, so it's a fresh one. Today it's the 28th of April, and the cuttings look like this. 2 are alive, 1 is like almost dying, and 1 has just died. So I have to remove this one from the jar. These 2 have a slight chance to root. However, no roots has been grown yet. Okay, 1 is removed. The rest is more or less alive. It's a good idea to change water today, to put some fresh. Today it is the 8th of May, and only 1 cutting is alive. The other 2 are dry, are dead, and I have to throw them away. These 2 didn't make it, and there is no traces of roots either. And the leaves are dry, so I have to get rid of them. 1 is still alive, it looks like this, and possibly it will survive. We'll see. It is a good idea to change water today, because fresh water might help. And finally we are done with this. We are left with only one twig of this weeping forsythia. It has been 131 days since the cuttings were collected, and we got some roots. Let's look at this. Well, a few roots. Let's say we can call it a successful rooting in water. Not many, in fact. It's enough for the twig, for the cutting to survive. So it seems like this forsythia, weeping forsythia, is quite hard to root. Well, it's stubborn plant, let's say. Some old leaves even. Okay. What we've got here, it's that the base of this cutting, the forsythia, starting to form a new shoot, and this new twig, new shoot, has roots on, just here, because the old one was unlikely to grow roots. There was another new shoot here, let's say this one, the one here, but it has rotten, with one root rotten also. However, we are lucky to have the one here with good growing roots that are pretty alive. Let's plant it. We can plant it now. In fact, I found some roots growing here from the old wood. Not only the young shoot like this, however, these two are growing directly from the old wood. Okay, so we can plant it into a pot with some good soil made of compost. Okay, and now gently cover it with more soil. Just like this. What we've got to do now, we have to water it heavily and leave it in a sheltered place to grow new roots. I mean, just to grow in this pot for a year or something like that. Okay, so we are done with this. It took about 4.5 months altogether, so it was quite stubborn, this forsythia. And I'm Bartosz Pacuła, broadcasting from the south of Poland in Europe. And thank you for watching. If you like my video, you can subscribe to my channel. Thank you and bye bye.